Hi, this is episode 12 of Rory's Table Tennis Topics show. We have three new guests today. So we've got Brett Holt, George Noel, and Simon Heaps. So I'm going to get them all to introduce themselves one by one. So Brett, if you'd like to go first, tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into table tennis and so on.
Yeah, so I'm originally from the Wiltshire, Hampshire area where I was born and grew up, really. I was kind of like born into the sport, following like my old man, was quite a high level player back in his day. And yeah, I was just born into it, really. As soon as I was knee high to a grasshopper, as I've been told by some people that I've ran into recently and said, yeah. So that's how I really fell into it. But then when I reached the age of like a young teenager, 15, 16, I quit, bumped into girls and just, I did not play table tennis at all, which is the biggest regret of my life now. And then
for about 20 years, you didn't play then?
Yeah, good 20 years. It's only like in the past year and a half, 2 years that I just suddenly just got inspiration, picked up a bat again, found out where my local club was where I could play table tennis and hit the ball for the first time in like 20 odd years.
What inspired you to pick your bat up again? That's an interesting one. I mean, like after 20 years or whatever.
The story was I was in my local leisure centre and I took my little one, who's only like 5 at the time, because she wanted to go swimming. And then I was just looking at the local leisure centre and then I overheard someone at the front desk booking a table tennis court. And then I said to my partner, I said, I used to play table tennis, And I said, I used to be all right at it. And my whole family was, pretty high level at it. And then this little old man wearing his cleaning uniform, cleaning out the leisure centre. His name's Brian. Bless him, Brian. And he was just trotting along with his cleaning trolley, and his ears just picked up on the word table tennis in the queue, and he was just like, "What? Table tennis, table tennis?" So he comes wandering over to me, and he said, "Did I just hear you speaking about table tennis?" And then I got talking to him, saying how I used to play. And I said, yeah, I don't mind, I'll give it a go. And he said, well, actually, he says, we've got a local league and a good community here, And I said, oh, right, okay, where's that? And he said, well, actually, tonight. He said, come down to this address. He said, we've got a local league night on tonight. He said, just come on. He says, you're most welcome. Just come and have a look at us. Check us out.
Good old Brian Tate, stalwart of the Heaps League.
Yes.
Kept that league going for many years.
He does, yes, and he still is now. But yeah, so that very same day, I went along, chucked on some old tracksuit, so maybe I even get a knock or whatever, but it was
the Michelle suit, was it? The Michelle suit from the 80s?
Yeah, I wish I kept that. But yeah, and then I seen it all in the league in full swing with 12 tables out and all the people there, and I thought, wow, this is incredible, I thought, this is brilliant. So, I talked to a few more and then they invited me in for their practice sessions. And so I walked along on the Sunday, with nothing with me at all. And, and then the rest is history, as they say now.
And since then, you've gone on to become a qualified level 1 coach, right?
Yes.
You've done the county umpire. Did you pass the written paper and you're waiting for the practical assessment, is it?
Yes.
I know you've assisted me on many 2-star and 1-star tournaments. I'm sure George will have seen you. George, you've seen Brett, I guess, have you, at the tournament?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have, George, yeah.
And you're on the Heaps Table Tennis League Committee.
Yes.
You're on the Crawley Community Table Tennis Club Committee. Yes. And also is on the Sussex Table Tennis Association Committee.
Yes, at the county level wide as well. I'm also a council management member.
Okay.
So not only a league rep, I'm also it's pretty much the committee at a county level. We're called council management.
Okay, and so you've gone from no involvement for 20 years to now being heavily involved in the county and league and local structures, which is really good.
Yep. and local communities, and I also support like amazing community clubs like Brighton Table Tennis Club, for example. You know, and just trying to get more into getting table tennis as a way to reach out to all communities, like, you know, regardless if you're.
And Brett, I'm just trying to think. The first time we met, was that at the Summer League Division 2, and then you came to my tournaments after that to help me. Was that how it worked? You joined into the Summer League last year, a year and a bit ago.
Yeah, no, I think it was just before that, wasn't it?
Could have been, yeah, might have been.
Yeah, I don't know how though, but since I bumped into you, you know, I've just got into, because I see you running your tournaments, the local league tournaments, and then when I come in, you invited me to come and help you.
Yeah.
And then when I done that the very first time, after that day, all right, it was very hard work. You know, my legs were completely dead. I mean, it's worse than being at a training camp. But, you know, at the end of it, I absolutely loved it. And I felt such my element of, you know, calling out the players, getting the matches going and doing a bit of filming as well and recording these matches, you know, because I believe in grassroots table tennis should be publicised more. It shouldn't be behind closed doors in the old village church or one table venue, you know, not mentioning any places around here, but it should be doors are open, you know, let the public come and see, let them think, oh yeah, I used to play when I was a kid, and then they will come along to your sessions and leagues. And so I think it should be open doors policy to all, no matter what the event is.
Cool.
And it should be publicised more. So yeah, and then so I started filming matches and recording my own matches as well, and I'm getting quite a bit of interest because I edit the matches, you know, and then I'm gonna do maybe a little bit of commentary and, you know, just jazz it up a little bit. But yeah, so that's where I'm at currently now.
Good. Okay, moving on. George, if you'd like to give us an introduction to yourself and how you got into table tennis and what you're doing and so on.
Yeah, so I started playing table tennis I started playing in my primary school. I think I was 10 when I first started.
What are you, 14 now, is it?
Yeah, I'm 14.
Yeah.
So, like, I played a lot of golf and I played a lot of football. So I was quite sporty. And, I just always had, like, quite good hand-eye coordination. So I just started playing table tennis and I was just quite natural. And then, I stopped training with a football team, with one of my football teams, and went down to my local club. That was Crusaders. Every Saturday, where I got coached by Mike Panton.
Yeah.
And then, so that was like, it was just really fun at first, and I just done it for the enjoyment, really.
Do you not go there anymore?
Well, because Mike had a stroke, so it's not really like, there's not really any training sessions there at the moment.
Right. Okay.
But I used to go there, and it was just like fun for me, and it was just like, yeah, and all my friends at school used to play it.
I know you're ranked 25 in England cadets now for the new season. Have you got any goals for the season or for generally for in a few years' time?
Yeah, so like this year I want to play, because I'm probably going to be playing in Hungary this year.
Okay.
In
a tournament?
Yeah, in an open.
Nice.
So in singles.
Playing kind of for England or being selected by England or just doing it on your own back?
It's just singles, but England recommended it to me, the squad. So.
Okay, cool.
And and I just keep training with Greenhouse because like that's just my favourite bit at the moment.
How many hours are you training a week?
Over the summer I was
not now necessarily, but like during when you're not in COVID times, you know.
Yeah, so I was used to training. I didn't train that much in a week because I have to get the training tube there, so it takes like an hour and a quarter. So like that was like my mum wouldn't let me go, or like it wasn't really good to go at like nighttime sort of thing.
No.
So I went on weekends like 9 till 6.
And you're not playing anywhere during the week then? You're only playing there at weekends? You're not playing...
No, I'm training with Chris during the weeks.
Oh, right. Where's that?
We're in his school, which is in Epsom. Yeah.
Right. That's Chris Chota, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. We're always training together. And he's going to be joining Greenhouse soon as well.
But you don't go to a greenhouse school, or do you?
No, I don't.
Okay, it's just the actual open for anybody that wants to come along, yeah?
Yeah, it's a centre.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, my camera's playing up a little bit, but we'll just carry on. I'll try and get it back. Simon, would you like to give us an introduction to yourself and how you're going to table tennis and where you're at now, please?
Well, I'm a lot older than both Brett and George, so mine goes back to the late 60s, early 70s, really. I started playing when I was 8 years old I lived in Reading, Reading YMCA, which was not a massive club, but we tended to have a lot of the better players there, and I was coached by my dad. My sister, who was England's senior and junior international, played there as well. Both of my brothers played there, and a lot of the better players in Reading. And that was where I started, really. I was lucky enough to play for England juniors when I was 13. I went over to Holland. I think my non-playing captain then was a guy called Rory'S. And I carried on playing for England juniors and seniors, although being blooded for seniors until I was out of juniors then, which was under 17. But the highlight for me was I was actually European cadet champion in 1970. So when you look back at it now, that was a long time ago. Yeah, those were.
But Simon, you had two brothers, right, who both played table tennis. Are you the middle person? Are you the middle brother, or?
I'm the middle one. My younger brother Tim sadly passed away a few years ago, and my brother Nick, who's in his early 70s now, about 72, is still playing. He's up in Derbyshire, but he plays on the vet circuit as well.
And Tim was a para player. Did he?
Tim was a para player, and he played in the Atlanta Olympics in, I think it was about 1994. I did speak to somebody the other day that was his teammate. But yeah, Tim was born with half an arm, and that was in the very early days of prosthetic arms and stuff like that. But yeah, he played very, very well.
Yeah. I always wanted to play him, actually. He's a very interesting side spin, backspin.
Yeah. Everyone that played against him said that he had the most cruel serves and some of his shots he did. And I think for Tim, it was half trying to make people look silly rather than just win the point. And he loved that. But I know he was very difficult to play against. Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit, I know you've said it on other shows, but tell us a little quick summary of your kind of goals now as a para player, having lost one of your legs.
Yeah, well, I lost my right leg last May. Well, not last May, May 2019. So I'm now a para athlete. I'm 65 a couple of weeks ago. And I actually, same as Brett, packed up playing. I think I packed up playing for about 25, nearly 30 years. Came back when I was 60 and then retired again 3 years later when I was getting too many injuries and trying to play like a 15, 16-year-old, bit like George is now, probably rushing around the table, and I was getting too many injuries. So I packed up. Unfortunately, a year later, I lost my right leg, and from run round with two legs. I've still got a bit of a brain up here. I can still play with my hand. I'm going to try and play para table tennis from a wheelchair. So I'm now officially ITTF Class 5 classification. So it means I can play in wheelchair tournaments around the world. And that for me was probably the hardest event I've ever won, because I went to the classification meeting not knowing whether I'd be allowed to play in a wheelchair or not. And if they'd said, no, you have to play as an able-bodied, not able-bodied, but sorry, in the standing class, I couldn't have done that, because my doctors and surgeons said under no circumstances are you to play on your remaining leg, because that leg is actually worse than the one that we took off. And it's too risky. You'll end up losing both legs. So, you cannot do that. So to get that classification... Sorry?
Yeah, sorry. Do you actually walk around with a prosthetic leg normally, or are you in a wheelchair?
Yeah, I can walk around with a prosthetic leg, and I wear it for 16, 17 hours a day. But it's a lot different walking to having the stresses and strains of playing. And I only need to get a little nick on a toe, and my circulation is so bad in my left leg that I can't even feel 4 of my toes. So if you get a nick, whereas you three guys would probably feel it and whatever. I don't even realise. And by the time I realise, it's then too late, and you can end up losing a toe and all sorts. So I did have a problem about 3 years ago. I had a nick on my good leg, or my remaining leg, and that took 11.5 months to clear up. Now, for you guys, it'd clear up in just over a week, but mine took 11.5 months. So it just shows you how bad it is.
You've got diabetes, is that why it takes longer? 53
years now I've been a type 1 diabetic. So back in the early days of glass syringes and everything, now they're all disposable. But yeah, been a diabetic for 53 years, but still breathing. And it shows that, you can still get on with that. And my diabetes now is probably controlled better now than it was when it was in my young years, when I didn't know enough about it. Certainly the ETTA didn't know enough about it, and I feel that they probably didn't help me enough. But that's not their fault. That's a little bit of naivety. But yeah, I'm a lot better controlled now than I was then. But it's too late. I've had the consequences.
Yeah. So you've recently done a kind of a fundraiser where you've managed to raise over £3,000, which I must say I was extremely impressed by. When I saw you doing it initially, I thought, not sure it's kind of the cause that enough people would donate to, because it's like your own kind of personal dream goal. Yeah. But clearly, you've been on a few shows and stuff, and you've gone through Facebook, and clearly it's worked. So that's brilliant. I mean, so now you can go to the Irish Wheelchair Association Games or something, IWAS.
Well, I've come on to that, but firstly, the whole idea of the fundraisers, and I've got a GoFundMe page as well, is that I get no funding whatsoever. So when I made my GB debut last December in Costa Rica, it cost me nearly £2,500. And I can't afford to pay that myself. I'm retired. I'm just living off a small private pension at the moment with my wife. I can't afford that. The IWAS Games, it probably hasn't been widely publicised yet, but yeah, that was the plan. The bigger picture for me is to try and play for England in the Commonwealth Games in 2022. Olympic Games in Tokyo this year, which is now being postponed to next year, was never a possibility, purely because the squad had already been selected. There's a GB performance power squad, Will Bailey and Ross Wilson and people like that. So that was already set in stone. Plus also you have to play in so many world events to actually qualify. It's not just getting the world ranking points. You have to play in so many events. You couldn't just play in, say, 2 and win them. You actually have to play in 5, 6, 7 or whatever the amount is. So that was too late for me. So I thought the realistic goal for me was to try and represent England in the 2022 Commonwealth Games. And to do that, I needed funding. So I set up a GoFundMe page, which was very, very good. Recently, I've put in an entry to play in the IWAS World Games. Now, that's already been postponed twice, in February this year and in April. And then it got postponed again till December. So the whole idea of doing the personal fundraiser was to raise funds for that, because again, that's going to be virtually 2,300, 2,500, but also as a longer term to try and get me to the Commonwealth Games. And the longer term, there's equipment that has to be bought, coaching with my coach, international travel. The only way you can go up in world rankings is by traveling internationally. And if you're not funded, you've got to pay for your flights, accommodation and entry fees. Attending training camps, not just in this country and abroad. So there's a much, much bigger picture. And last year alone cost me over £10,000 to get to Birmingham. And get is a big, big thing. That I've got to beat certain people and whatever. So I can only give it my best. But I think it's going to cost me another £20,000 in the next 2 years. And the championships will have probably just about finished now. And by then I'm going to be just a few days short of my 67th birthday when I start. So going back to the personal fundraiser, the initial thing was to try and go to the IWAS World Games in Thailand, which is International Wheelchair Amputee Sports Federation. When I entered in February and in April, there was going to be 3,500 athletes from around the world in 11 sports, of which table tennis was one. Because of COVID, those both got postponed, and then it was announced that they would have the games in Thailand, same venue, on the 10th to the 17th of December. And again, every athlete probably around the world was looking at the COVID situation, but lucky enough, Thailand's been fantastic. I say fantastic. I think they've only had 58 deaths, but when you compare it with our 40,000 plus and some of the other countries, it's minimal, and they've had no new cases. So in July this year, they confirmed that the IWOS Games would go ahead, which was fantastic because everyone wasn't really quite sure. I booked my flights in the early part of August when I started my fundraiser. Unfortunately, last Wednesday, which was September the 2nd, which was only 2 days after the fundraiser ended, and as Rory said, fantastic support from everybody, raising just over £3,000, which would have cleared all of my expenses for that one tournament. They decided that during early August, they sent out a letter of intent to compete with all the nations in all the sports. And unfortunately, table tennis wasn't supported strong enough. Now, I don't know why that was, whether there was some of the big countries like South Africa, America and India, whether they thought that COVID in their own country was too bad that they, players couldn't leave. But certainly the result was that on September the 2nd, last Wednesday, they announced instead of 11 sports taking part, there are now only going to be 7. And unfortunately, table tennis at the last minute has now been dropped. So to say I was disappointed last Wednesday was an understatement.
So that's been cancelled. What's going to be your next tournament instead then?
There is nothing yet. I mean, I've already found out that the IWOS World Games will be on in 2022. They won't announce the venue yet until they have this year's tournament in December. The ITTF events for 2021 haven't yet been announced, the para events, and obviously a lot of those are going to be geared up towards the Olympics for people to get final qualification. But there will be tournaments next year, 100%, and I've now got the funds in my bank that I can go to those. Obviously, I have to get permission from GB Para that I can go on a self-funding basis. But hopefully, if they allow me to do that, I've got those funds in place. And if there's a tournament, one every month, I want to be there, and I've now got the funds in place that I can do that.
Okay.
The ones that are further afield obviously cost a lot more money, but the ones in Europe are a lot cheaper than, say, the Costa Rica and the Thailand was. So
one last question then before we move on to the topics. Are there no age group events for wheelchair players or?
No, at the IWOS, there's no age group events at all. I think you get, IWOS have what they call some World Junior Games, where I think you might have to be under 21 or under 23. And in the main IWOS Games, they also say they have a Masters event. They have a General Open, and they have a Masters, which is over 40. Obviously, I wanted to compete in both, but the main one for me was playing in the main Open event because, to me, I might be 65, but I still feel as I'm only 25. So, I want to compete with all the youngsters like George.
Just talking about, the para in the vets and how there isn't any, really.
So basically, I went to Wolverhampton. I was the only person with probably a disability that was noticeable, or certainly the only one that was a member of GB Para. And I actually beat a fella in my over 50s group who I lost to the last time I had 2 legs. So he probably wasn't too pleased with that, but I was chuffed to bits. And I qualified for my over 60s group. I think I won 2 of the games in my group, and I played the guy who was about number 7 seed, and I lost to him close in the 5th. So I was pleased that I qualified from that. I came 3rd in my over 50s group, and then in the doubles, I actually did quite well in the doubles. So I've played in most of those since. As a wheelchair player, but they've welcomed me with open arms, and it's the social as well as the competitive thing in the vets as well. But I did play in the vets Europeans in Helsingborg in Sweden, so that was a great experience as well. But the vets tournaments, I think they had the Worlds in Vegas when they had something like 4,500 table tennis players, the biggest table tennis event ever in the world. I mean, the vets family is fantastic.
Yeah, it's massive,
in every country. I mean, Germany, for example, will take over 1,000 players to a vets tournament. Over 1,000 players. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, because there was a recent documentary, you know, following the likes of Roy Norton and, you know, and Jorgen Roskopf and all that, you know, just following along to the vets tournaments. But yeah, I just thought, you know, would there be a specific, you know, like para vets? But yeah.
No, I think the last one, which was in Budapest, a couple of my friends sent me some videos of a couple of wheelchair people that played in that.
Yeah.
I didn't know them then because I don't know if I actually lost my leg then. Probably had done, but I didn't know those particular people. But you know, they obviously wanted to play, and that's fine. So you're basically allowed to if you want to. It's just slightly different rules on service.
No, that's good then. It's good. It's just, you know, you can just pop along to a Vets Masters, like,
yeah,
you know, because they're still very much going, and yeah, no, it's good.
Well, we get anything up to 250 to 300 people playing
In the Vets tournaments, yeah.
Tournaments, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's always been like that. I mean, I remember as a little kid, you know, even the local ones, like when we went up to like the Northampton one, you know, it's crazy. It's like, you know, 400 or 500 people just playing.
Wolverhampton at Aldersley Stadium, they have 36 tables, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really
and
good.
same in the K2 at Crawley. I think we have
probably
36 tables there as well. It's a big venue.
Okay, so let's move on to the question. Today we're talking mainly about clubs, how they're set up, how they're run, venues, coaching, you know, league matches, tournaments, anything to do with clubs. So I've got a few questions set up. So I'm going to ask each guest. So I'm going to start with name 3 aspects of your ideal club. And we'll start with Brett. 3 aspects of your ideal club.
Well, I think for me, the very first thing as an ideal club, I mean, if you're talking like a local community club, it's got to be socially friendly environment, 100%, you know, because I mean, you're there to forge new relationships, you know, and to make lifelong lasting friends. And that's where you'll get it from, especially to the youngsters. That's one of my most foremost. My other definitely aspect of an ideal club would be a clear pathway of progression to inspire all, no matter what level you are. So even if you're an adult, you know, coming back in, you're a complete beginner, you've never really played competitive table tennis before, but you would be from the outset, you know, brought into the club, and then you would very quickly see that there is a clear pathway, you know, to beyond the club. If you wanted to go, you know, from local league level, if you wanted to try for county, if you want to go even beyond county and go into national and then international level, you know, there is a progression for all, no matter what age you are, what ability you are. I think that needs to be a lot clearer, and I would like to have that in an ideal club. So I would just walk into a club and then, you know, from joining just a few sessions and then starting to get more attached to that club, I would be very clear on my pathway to progress.
Okay, one more.
And then also, I also believe in an ideal club, the more like high level players, you know, who can actually play the game, you know, to show, oh, look at them going at it, you know, when they can see them on the tables. I think that should be definitely there, but also players or coaches, but an abundance of them.
So, George, what are your 3 main aspects to an ideal club?
Well, probably like a really big one is just like respecting everyone.
Yeah.
Just like not like having any grudges or like any like pressure. Just like kind of like a good community that's just like everyone's friends with each other.
Yeah. One. Is that 2 more?
Yeah, a really strict coach, someone who's just like.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Just so that like you don't like get half-hearted or anything. just to like keep you on your toes.
Hey, I've been like that in the past, but some people don't like it, some people do. So I think that kind of depends on the person. You might need to kind of look at who you're coaching and adapt your own style possibly. But anyway, yeah, I know what you mean. Someone that can push you and maybe know how much to push you and what direction and what you're capable of. And then what more?
Probably like just everyone plays with everyone.
Yeah.
So like I know that it's like, for me it's like really good to play with people that are like in seniors or like late juniors, like that are more experienced, and it just like I can sort of look up to, and like they're really consistent. So I know that's really helpful. And then probably like for like people like under 10s and stuff, playing with me is quite helpful as well. And just like everyone helping each other out, it'll probably just like benefit the club a lot.
Okay. Yeah, some good points there. From my point of view, 3 aspects of an ideal club would be that the one would be that there's coaching available, and like Brett says, to everybody that wants it, not just for juniors or performance players. I think everybody should be able to access the coaching. So for my club, I have coaching sessions which are open to anybody. Yeah, it does tend to be more juniors, but any adult that wants to come along, they're welcome. And I even give adults the advantage in that I say they can do pay as you go, whereas the kids have to pay in advance of the term, so that I know I've got numbers, so it's financially viable. So one, coaching, which is kind of related to what Brett said about the kind of a pathway for players. Another thing is the ability to compete. So, for example, my club enters teams in the Crawley Local League, also in the National Cadet League, the National Junior League, the Senior British League, the Veterans British League, and also my club, or myself, organises a lot of 1-star and 2-star ranking tournaments locally. So there's loads of competitive opportunities available to players. So that's the second one. And the third one is the ability to be able to play frequently. So not just 1 session a week or 2 sessions a week. So you would need, say, maybe, for example, 2 group sessions a week, and the ability to either practice or go for 1-to-1. So there needs to be the opportunity to play a number of times a week, and flexibility that if your club doesn't offer that maybe you can go elsewhere. Okay, Simon, you had 6.
Yeah, right. I'm back with you. Basically, what I was saying was that the typical English club is played in a village hall that's cold or damp on a Friday night or Monday night, or maybe in a school. They're not in purpose-built venues. That is the typical around the country. So what I would like to see, and it's probably not going to happen for a long time, is that a bit like the German and Dutch setups, where you actually have a purpose-built venue for table tennis. So the 6 things that you really need on that are 24/7 access. Now, that doesn't mean to say you can play at 2 o'clock in the morning, but you own the venue and you're in control of the venue when you want it, whether you want it 5 nights a week, 3 nights a week, weekends or whatever. That will then attract the best players, which is obviously good for everybody. But the best players are going to be playing at one venue in the town rather than being spread along lots of different other smaller venues where the conditions aren't so good. The next thing would be a team of coaches, probably headed up by a head coach, who also then will have you a pathway to get to regional, county and then international level. following on from the purpose-built venue, you would obviously have the best facilities. But probably the most important thing, or the two most important things, it would be a community spirit. So the whole town or village or wherever it may well be is getting behind this one venue and the players. But by having the 24/7 access and by having a community spirit, you've also then got access for all ages, all abilities and all disabilities. So literally, as Brett said, you're attracting people when they're starting off. And we all started off when we went to a club and nobody wanted I don't want to play with Simon because he's useless. And when I actually became a half decent player, my dad would say, you know, go and play with Billy over there. And I said, well, he's not very good. He said, just you remember when you came up here and nobody wanted to play with you. If they hadn't have played with you, then you wouldn't have got to where you are today. And it's all about giving back to those other people. So whether it's doing it by coaching or playing with them. So I've got 6 things there, which would be the aspects of an ideal club. I don't think you can really narrow it down to 3. I'm sure we've had some good ones while I was off air.
Okay, so that was the first question. Second question, one thing or more if you can't narrow it down to one thing. What do you like about your current club? So we'll start with George this time.
About my current club, well, I train at Greenhouse, so it's like a lot of different people and ages all training together.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of helpful because like you play against loads of different people's like styles, you get to meet new people, and it's just really helpful.
Okay.
So you're not just playing against like the same old 1 or 2 people like every week.
Is there anything you'd like to say about your previous club? One good thing about the club?
Crusaders, probably the best thing about it was everyone who was new would play with the best players.
Yeah.
So like it was just really like so all of the new players would sort of see and sort of get like inspired quite quickly, and it would sort of make them want to get better, and they would get loads of help and like motivation from different people. And then like for me as well, I then had like people to look up to as well, so it was like a cycle, and it was just
Cool.
And that's
your current club is what's your current club at the moment?
a Greenhouse.
No, Simon, I've moved on to now.
Oh, sorry. Right. Well, I've got 4 clubs, and they've all got their own benefits. So
okay. You can give benefits from each club if you prefer to do that.
Yeah, I've got that. Bournemouth Sports, for example, we're quite a small venue with 4 tables, but literally it's 24/7 access. So you could go there at 2 o'clock. You could go there at 2 o'clock in the morning. Each player has the code entry to get into the doors. You're then responsible for, obviously at the moment with all the COVID stuff, you're responsible for that. You're responsible for switching on the lights, switching off the lights, and locking up when you leave. So that's the main benefit for Bournemouth Sports. I'm also a member at New Milton Table Tennis Club. They play across 2 venues. One of them is a community centre, and one of them is a school sports hall. So at the community centre, they've only got 3 tables, but at the Grange School, for example, they can have as many as 14 tables. So, you know, that's great for them, but they are limited on time. The third one is I've now joined a club called Waterside in Southampton, which again is part of a school/college. And during the summer, it's been fantastic because we've been able to go there twice a week on a Monday and a Friday, and the tables are left up all the time. They have 9 tables. The COVID arrangements have been fantastic, and it's a really, really good venue. The problem is that we couldn't play on Friday. We can't play tomorrow because we don't know yet if the school are going to allow people to come in after hours. The fourth one is the club I just signed for in Germany. I'm going to be playing in the German Bundesliga next year.
Yes.
I've signed for a club called Autosport Hamburg in the wheelchair league. Now, I've not been there, but obviously I've looked at their website and I've spoken to the guys over there. This is going back to what I said about German and Dutch clubs. They have a purpose-built disability club. So they have different sports. They have swimming. They have a full-size swimming pool there. They have basketball, obviously played in the gymnasium. They have table tennis. They have all of these different sports, but it's purely for disabled. And the whole of the people, Hamburg's the second biggest city in Germany, behind Berlin. And if you're a disabled athlete, of any of they do other sports as well, but there's probably about 6 or 7. Then you go to Autosport Hamburg to play. So I'm really looking forward to going there to play my matches, because it will be a big venue. Hopefully, we'll be supported by other sports, supporting the home club. But it'll be purpose built. So not only having good disability facilities, toilets and showers and stuff like that, there'll be great facilities for wheelchair ramps and, just the general playing of table tennis. So all of those 4 clubs that I'm a member of will all have advantages for each club.
Good. And Brett, so you're in 2 clubs at the moment, aren't you?
3.
Oh, Crawley.
If we include Horsham Spinners.
Okay, you can include that.
Yeah, I'm affiliate.
Okay, go on then.
I think with Haywards Heath, I find the social community and the friendliness of the whole environment, certainly, it's very warm and welcoming at a local level, a local reach community, which is it's very warm. That's what I find with Haywards Heath. Crawley community, I definitely think the main benefit is the structure that they have there. So a couple of the older coaches and that they've implemented what's called like the player passport. For me, Rory and Simon, they might remember it used to be called the old Dula or the butterfly passport program.
Dunlop Skills Awards, probably.
That's the one. Yeah. Where you would start off on like bronze level, then you would work your way through and go bronze, silver, gold, in like beginner, advanced, and most advanced.
But they've got a Butterfly Skills Awards now, which is kind of basically an updated, modern version of that Dunlop Skills Award.
And Crawley community, they've kind of like progressed, their own little version of it, which I think is fantastic, because it gives like the young kiddies, and we're going to implement it to the wider audience, to the adults as well, so they've got a sense of achievement. When they complete like the bronze level beginner, and you get a little certificate and a little medal, and your picture taken, and it just gives, oh look, I've achieved something, even at a very local basic Division 2 level, So I think that's really good. Horsham Spinners, I get the structure, because like George says, he likes a coach that's hard on him, that gives him plenty of structure to keep him on his toes, keep him on guard, keep him, and with Horsham Spinners, you've got that. You've got the whole structure around the whole entire club throughout. So no matter what session you go to, you can see that it is, it's progressive, and you can even go to elite level if you like, and get your elite coaching if you want it, or you can go to the nationals, or you can stay at your local league level and participate in local, teams. And then you've got your smaller club venues, which keeps it, nice and tight. But either way, it's structured, which is what I like from Horsham Spinners. It's a very clear structure. So really.
In terms of what's good about my club, I might be a bit biased because I run the club and it's kind of my club, but I try to look at it from a player's perspective. I think what they might find the best thing about the club is just the opportunities to play and so they can play, like I mentioned, they can play national, cadet league, national, junior league, senior British league, vets British league, 1-star tournaments, 2-star tournaments, local league, group coaching sessions, 1-to-1 coaching sessions, practice sessions. Basically, the pathway is there, the progression is there. If you want to play, you can play as much as you want within reason. So playing opportunities, competing opportunities, coaching opportunities, practicing. It's all that's what I would say would be the strength of my club.
Structure,
Yeah, exactly. Now, next one. What improvement could be made to your current club, George? So, greenhouse. One thing that you could make slightly better.
I'm not really sure, to be honest.
That's perfect. There's nothing you'd change. More hours, or lower price, or more coaches, or more high-level players, or is there anything?
No, not really.
Okay, so
Perfect club.
greenhouse.
Yeah,
Everybody, you've heard it here. Greenhouse is the perfect club. There's nothing to be improved on it, apparently. Okay.
Yeah, that's Maria, isn't it? She makes it the perfect club.
And what, Daniel Basterfield and Jason Sugu, I think, as well. Okay, Simon.
Well, again, I've got a few, but I've taken some of the aspects of the 4 clubs I'm members at, but really an ideal club or improvements to any of the clubs would be, the first thing is more access. So out of the 3 English clubs I've got, there's only one that's got 24/7 access. The other one is limited because of schools or college or that sort of thing. So you definitely need more access. So you're in control of when you're going to have your sessions, whether it's with coaches, open sessions, league matches, or whatever. Better conditions. Now that means 2 things: better table tennis conditions. So it's purpose built with lighting, flooring, seating, barriers, tables, nets, the whole lot. You know, gone are the days. I once played in the Maidenhead League. We played in the old handicap thing, and we were in the top division. I was about 12 years of age, and we played a youth club in Division 6 in a handicap. And I remember hit the ball into the net collapsed, and the table fell down. And it was literally, you know, better conditions for everybody, and that actually makes you, you know, feel good as well. But it's not just the table tennis conditions. I think if you look at a lot of the continental clubs, they have food, they have a bar, they have TVs, they have chill out areas. So, you know, if players are going to be there all day, you don't want to be 6 hours on the table. You might want to have 2 hours, an hour rest. We can get some food, chill out. An area for the youngsters where they can, you know, chat to each other on Facebook or whatever it might be. They don't always want to be around 65-year-old codgers like me. They want to talk with their mates. Give them an area. I think the clubs also need to be a lot more friendly for girls. From speaking to lots of coaches around the country, it's very difficult to attract girls into a sport that is pretty much male dominated, and girls have to have their own sessions. You know, you put one girl in with 15 boys, it's difficult. You put one boy in with 15 girls, he's going to love it. So have more girls involved and maybe have special sessions for them. Also, by having the better facilities and by having more of a community spirit and one club per town, it's a lot easier to attract sponsorship. You know, to attract sponsorship for, you know, the post office team in Division 4 of your local league that play in a post office canteen is totally different to, say, Hamburg, Ulster Sport Hamburg, that's got a purpose-built venue for a multitude of sports and the disabilities. It's a lot easier for people to put money into those clubs, and they're proper clubs, and that money is then used for whether it's juniors, disabled, girls, seniors, vets, or whatever. It's easier to attract sponsors. So lots of different things there to improve on the clubs that I'm at. But, you know, I'm trying to build the ideal club. And unfortunately, in England, there's very, very few of those that are around.
Yeah.
You know, some very good ones, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Okay, so Brett, from your point of view?
From all the clubs, if I'm looking at a club level, I think there should be like a more focused, clearer pathway of progression. You know, so you know, even like, you know, someone just picking up the game and you know, decided to take the leap and join, you know, a Division 6 team. You know, I think they should be aware that there is an opportunity to progress and how far they can progress as well. Like, you know, they can see a clear road that if they want to become world champion or compete at the Olympic Games, there's the pathway and the progression that you go. I think that should be.
Is that for both
more
the clubs?
advanced.
Is that for all the clubs that you're
all clubs? Yeah.
Involved with? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. From my point of view, what I would like to improve about my own club would be the venue. I mean, in an ideal world, it would be nice to have, a bigger venue with maybe better lighting and better flooring, whatever else. But realistically, we're a small club with a small number of members, so it's very difficult to be able to pay the extortionate fees which it would require to be able to have one of these bigger, better venues and still actually be able to earn a living as a coach, out of the sessions. So that would, and also just going on from what Simon said, to have a girls' session would be something that we would improve the club. I mean, I've run this club since 2011, and I think we've had 3 or 4 girls through the doors in that 9-year period, none of which have lasted more than maybe 3 months, if that. I think maybe one of them lasted 3 months, maybe she did. I can't remember if she did 6 months, but I think she only did 3 months, and the others only lasted about that or less. So yeah, good. Okay, we seem to have lost Simon, but maybe he'll join in again. This is the last question we're going to do. It is, how can clubs increase participation and also produce more high quality players? So Brett, I'll start with you on that one.
So do I believe to involve more participation, it should be open door policy, i.e. film local league matches, get loads of media presence out there, write into the local newspapers in your area, saying, oh, this is our local league results, this is the Premier Division results, this is Division 6 results, so when people are sat there reading the papers, because people they read their local papers, they will see the results in there, or maybe even a little write-up saying, congratulations, this season, blah, blah, blah won, whatever it may be, or congratulations to, this team for winning some local tournament, so plenty of media coverage all the time, I think, is extremely important, because that will increase participation. Because if people know about it, because half the people in this area, they don't know there's a really vibrant, local table tennis league out in Haywards Heath. Most people I talk to are like, what? And when I say, no, it's not just a club, it's an actual league, it's a big league. People are not aware.
No.
So that's one way I believe should be to drive participation, is open door policy, none of this closed doors, plenty of pictures taken, plenty of videos taken in this day and age. And just get the word out there. And then to produce high players, I believe there should be more structure, going on from the player passport program, but to extend that so it's an actual big progression levels, and the higher up you go to county standard, to national standard, and beyond, you will still be on that player passport program, but it would be more, a lot harder and elite as the further up you go and progress. So you can actually see your progression. Okay. And in that way, I believe, if you got people on 5-star gold rated, on the program, at the top of that program, they should be, a good quality player. There's no reason why they shouldn't be. And I believe that's the way, how I think you can get participation and produce your higher quality players as well by making them progress.
So George, how would you think clubs can increase participation and also produce higher quality or more high quality players?
Probably just by always allowing everyone to come at any point, so it's not all just sessions only for these types of people, and so like just letting everyone come in and treating everyone the same.
So just to talk about greenhouse first quickly, do you have like are they free for all sessions? Like as in anybody can turn up, or you've got to book on, or you've got set sessions for juniors and adults? How does it work at greenhouse?
Well, like soon there's going to be an under 25 session for like older people. That,
over 20, you mean?
Under, I think, but like by under I mean it's people coming out of their junior year.
All right, older as in not juniors. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that'll be like yeah, just for them to train and like.
What sessions do you attend? Are they open to everybody, or just for juniors, or?
Yeah. Well, they're open to like everyone, but then like Maria will take like people that are like sort of beginner intermediate players.
What, so there's one coach working with beginners, another coach working with more higher juniors, or what? How does it work?
Yeah, and then there's once you get into performance, there's like performance C, B, and A, so you can like work your way through like the process.
And these are all going on at the same time in the hall because it's a big venue, is that right?
Yes, it's pretty big, yeah.
So you don't have Monday for one certain group and Tuesday for another group. They're all on every day.
Yeah, mostly I think, yeah.
Okay. And in terms of the price, how much? What kind of charges are there?
It's like I think the maximum you pay is like £28 a month.
Oh, you pay monthly, and then you can just turn up whenever you want. Yeah. Okay. And is it different prices for different age groups, or is it the same?
No, it's the same.
Same for everybody. Okay. And well, I guess if you go to a greenhouse school, they might get it cheaper, might they?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Okay. And so did you say about how they should produce more higher quality players? How a club can produce more higher quality players?
Just like making sure that the people around you are all good players that you can like sort of like sometimes aspire to be and like help out with each other, and just like coaches.
I think better players need to be prepared to play against the lesser players, and then when those like lesser players get better, then they play with the new lesser players and so on. So it's kind of a conveyor belt. That is important, but that can be difficult if you've got like split ability sessions where you're not really having the best players playing against in the same room, even as for in small clubs they might have to be in the same room or the same day.
Also, like just say like if I have like 5 people that I think like on the same level as me, and like all 5 of us are trying to constantly get one up on each other, and then it just like sort of spirals like that, and then you sort of like look at other players in England, and then you're like a lot better.
Yeah,
like, as a group, and then that helps.
It's important to get a group of people around the same age and standard. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've noticed that over the years. When I have run my sessions and when I've had my kind of best results is when I've had a few players around the same age who are the same standard. And when you get 1 or 2 really good players, they tend to think, oh, well, there's nobody good enough for me here. I'm going to go somewhere else, or I'll just stop playing, or I'll just play in the league. I won't take it seriously anymore. So yeah, I think you need a kind of base of players of the same standard who all want to improve. So how to increase participation? Definitely marketing, advertising your club, which is not done enough, and I personally don't do it enough. I run a small club. I run it by myself. I haven't got any help, so it's not my marketing isn't my area of expertise, I wouldn't say. So it's something I've been looking into over the lockdown. Done a few courses on it, online. So yeah, that is the big part of it. Just getting yourself out there, advertising. I've done a little bit of handing out flyers and stuff, but a good website is good, and my club doesn't have a good website yet. We've got the basic T2 Leagues one, which I haven't really done much with it, but I've put the basic contact details and stuff on there over the summer, so I'm going to try and work on that. Yeah, making the sessions fun. If it's fun, they'll come back. That's and then they'll tell their friends, and word of mouth recommendation is probably the best way to get more players. And stuff like offers. If you get somebody else to join and pay the fee for the term, you get your membership free or something like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I've offered that this term. So we've got a club membership fee of £25 for the year, which it doesn't include the cost of the coaching sessions. But if they find a new member who pays up for the term of coaching, they don't need to pay the membership fee. And also the new player doesn't need to pay the membership fee. They just need to pay for the coaching. So little things like that. I mean, it hasn't actually produced any new players at the moment, but it's an idea. You got to try these things.
Yeah.
And then how to produce more high quality players. I think that's a difficult one, because I think that needs to kind of come from the player to some extent. I mean, a player either wants to train regularly and become really good, or they don't. I mean,
yeah,
I think it's difficult to produce a high quality player from someone who just wants to play socially and just wants to have a bit of a laugh with their friends. I've had some good players, and they became quite good, and they've won national titles in the school's team events and stuff. But at the end of the day, some of them, table tennis was their fourth sport, and they were still good at table tennis, but it was their fourth sport, or third or fourth sport. Others, although again quite talented and the ability, didn't play more than once a week, or maybe the odd time twice a week, and that you're just not going to get there at that level. But yeah, to produce high quality players, as a minimum, you need the opportunities there to play. Coaching, competing, one-to-ones, group sessions, practice sessions, opportunities. And then the coach has to work hard with the players, individual sessions, you know, tailoring the sessions to each player. Right, well, we've just about run out of time, so I'm going to close it off there. And I want to thank my three guests, Simon, Brett, and George, for joining me today. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but hopefully we'll be back next week with some more guests. Thanks for joining, everybody. Bye now. See you then.
Good.